You always need some sort of output even if you do it by yourself. However, I found that the most valuable output is the one that you have when someone is correcting you. Today I want to talk about one of my favorite tools to use when learning a language, which is italki, and we're going to be talking about how to use it for free and when you have lessons. So I'm going to divide this video into 3 parts. In part number 1, I'm going to tell you how you can create a routine with italki. In part number 2 is how to use the community feature, which is free. And in the third part, I'm going to tell you about how to make the most out of your italki lessons. So first of all, let's talk about creating routines. When you want to create a routine with italki, when you start using italki, you want to ask yourself, what is my goal with this? Why do I want to have these lessons? It is really important to do things intentionally and to not just go there without any idea or any goal. If you find it hard and you really don't know what it is that you want with the language, you can always get on a trial lesson with a tutor and just ask them what are the things that you like to learn, why are you learning, and they may help you out figuring out what's your goal. But it's really, really important to go to italki with a goal already. So just take a minute and think about what is the situation that you would like to be in using your target language? How would you like to use that language, whether that's listening or reading or writing or speaking? In which form, in which situations will you use that language? Will you want to use that language? That right there is your goal. Another thing that I always find super helpful is to find my input-output ratio. I believe that not everyone needs the same amount of input and the same amount of output. Some people are more output-driven and will need very little input because they have stronger memories, truly. So they need very little input and they just go straight to speaking with people, to just talking. For me, I need about the same amount of input than I do with output. If I take too much input, I don't learn. But again, like I told you, this is different for everyone. There's people who just do input, and when they start speaking, it's like magic. Just find what it is that works for you. So for example, if I'm gonna study for 5 days, for sure I will study passively for 3 days and actively for 2 days. This is just what works for me. And the way that you're gonna create your routine with italki is that you're gonna set specific days to either use the free community or take lessons or both. For example, you can have a routine where every Wednesday you check in the community feature in italki and you post something, and then the next day you look at the corrections and study them. But of course, the easiest ways to create a routine with italki is by having a lesson, right? Because lessons are normally the same day at the same time every week, and the best part is that you don't have to do it on your own. Your teacher is going to be there waiting for you, so you for sure have to do it. It's a great way to have accountability. So to create a routine, you really need your goal, you really need to understand your input and output ratio, and you also need to set out days for output and practice, which is where italki excels at. Let's talk about using the italki free community, which is one of my favorite parts of italki. The very first thing that you would like to do is to spend a little bit of time setting up your profile. I'm gonna leave my profile right here if you want to follow me as well. Set your profile with your interests and the languages that you speak, add a picture if you feel like it, and then once you're done, go ahead right away and start exploring the community tab. I really like the For You page or part or section where you have a lot of things related to the languages that you speak and learn. That's a great way to correct others and help them. It's also a great way to read what other people are writing in your target language and to get some inspiration on what are the things that you can talk about within the italki community. It's a great starting point because you can see what everyone else is doing. Now, if you pass to the next tab, which is the best place and is a place that you should be at, these are the exercises. What I like is that they have a lot of prompts, so you don't have to think about like, okay, what I'm going to write about today. They already have a lot of ideas for you, so it's just about reading, finding one that you like, and then writing and send them. The first time that you do it, you're like, oh my gosh, is this correct? And you like read it a million times. But the more you do it, the more confident you will be with your abilities. And now the question sections is the best place for you to help others, which if you're expecting corrections and you're expecting people to help you, you should for sure help others. Be an active member of the community. That's what I want you to be. So in that section, you're going to have a lot of questions with the languages that you're advancing or that you speak or that you're learning, and you can just help each other. The purpose of this community tab, and to know if this is for you, this is for getting mostly corrections. So you can send voice notes and you can write, and it's just a great place to collaborate in your language learning. And remember that corrections are so important in our learning. If we're only learning passively, sometimes we build up bad habits. And this is something that happened to me with Italian. I have so many bad habits, and in English, if you can hear, I don't know any prepositions. I always said them wrong. I just gather bad habits because you don't have the constant corrections that you need in order to speak more properly. This is something that I am avoiding in the new languages that I'm speaking by always making sure to send and share my language learning and the things that I know so I can get corrected as soon as possible. My goal is to make as many mistakes as fast as I can so I can get better at them. And once you get the corrections, don't just read them. Actually figure out what is the problem and study it. Include it in your study plan for the next weeks and make sure that you understand how to correct that error. Now let's talk about what italki is all about. And it is taking lessons on italki. You have community tutors and you have teachers. The difference of a community tutor is someone who is a native and it's more likely to be an informal conversation, while a teacher is more likely to be a more structured lesson. They're both great depending on what your level is. If I'm a beginner, I will normally pick a teacher, and if I am an intermediate learner or advanced, I will normally pick a community tutor just because they speak more informally and they are more focused into helping you sound more natural. Normally. But again, everything varies. So this is how you can prepare yourself to make the most out of your lesson, which is something that I find very important. So the very first thing that you want to do is specifically what do you need to improve and how are the lessons are gonna help you improve that. So for example, if you want to improve your writing, maybe you can find a tutor that likes or that corrects writing, so you can write something every week and then show it to your tutor and correct it together. Maybe you want just conversational lessons, so maybe you have a community tutor that just helps you get that, just conversational casual lessons, right? So depending on what your aim is, you're gonna look for the teacher that suits you. One of the great things about italki, honestly, is that you get to learn whatever you want. So if you just send your tutor or your teacher a message in advance saying, hey, I would love to talk about this, this, and this, they're really gonna appreciate it because they're gonna be more prepared to talk to you, and you're also gonna be getting exactly what you want. So that's absolutely the best way to make the most out of your lessons. Normally teachers and tutors will ask you what type of lesson do you prefer, and in the trial lesson, which I recommend you take a trial lesson before you commit to a tutor, they're gonna tell you what type of learning they do, what type of exercises they do. They're also gonna ask you if you want homework or not. So you should think about these things beforehand so you're more prepared when your teacher asks you that question, because if they caught you off guard, you're gonna be like, yes, whatever. You're gonna be all awkward, and then you're like, damn it, I actually didn't want to do homework. Or maybe they don't give you homework and you're like, I actually need to do homework because otherwise I won't do anything throughout the week. And also consider that if you want to have some homework, that is extra time that you're gonna need throughout the week to do that homework. So consider that when you're thinking about time management as well, because it's not only going to be the lesson that you're taking, but the extra time that you need to do the homework. I personally normally like to do my homework right after my lesson because otherwise I forget. So every time I always schedule 30-minute lessons, sometimes 1-hour lessons, but I do prefer 30-minute lessons, and then I dedicate 30 minutes to doing the homework for the next week so I don't forget. And of course, last but not least is what is your budget, and I make a video about how to pay for language learning resources, and I'm going to link to it right here. But it's important to know your budget because honestly some languages are just more expensive than others, and teachers select their own pricing. So there are a variety of prices that you're going to find on italki. You have trial lessons that start at $1, but tutors can cost up to $35 an hour. So again, depends on the tutor that you want, the tutor that you like, and the type of tutoring that you also want. And also whether you want a professional teacher or a community tutor, because we're all trying to figure out this financial thing as young adults. I have definitely gone overboard with italki and spent more money than I should with lessons. So I like to have a budget just to make sure that I am being a responsible adult, but also getting as many lessons as I want. So I have you can consider about what is the price per lesson that you're comfortable with. Maybe it's $5, maybe it's $10, so whatever works for you. And also the frequency of the lesson. So you can have like an estimate of how much you want to spend monthly or weekly. And also know that you don't have to have a lesson every week. I know that's the standard and that is a good practice, but that doesn't work for everyone, right? You could have a lesson once a month and it's still valuable. You can have a lesson once every other month. It's still valuable. Of course, the more frequent you have lessons, the more practice you get and the better you get. But if it doesn't work for you, or if this is just a language that you want to maintain, not a language that you maybe are super focusing right now but just want to maintain, maybe once a month is enough, maybe once every other week is enough. Okay, so whatever works for you. So just to recap, know specifically what you want to improve with your lessons. Is it grammar? Is it speaking naturally? Is it pronunciation? Whatever it is. Know what type of lessons you prefer. Do you prefer more structured lessons or more informal lessons? More casual talking lessons? Know if you want homework or not and communicate that to your teacher, and have a clear budget. So to me, italki is one of those platforms that just helps you get practice, and that is where it really shines. And I share it with you because I genuinely love italki, and it's something that has helped me in the very beginning to become a teacher, to become a tutor, to become a language coach eventually. It was my very first steps as an active member of the language learning community. So this has come full circle for me. But also as a learner, it's a platform that I absolutely love, and it's a platform that grows with you from very beginner to super advanced, and there's always a way for you to practice no matter what your level is. So I was very happy to collaborate with italki for these videos and all those videos that I've been doing in the past month. I really appreciate what they do for the language learning community, and there's a link in the description down below for you to join italki. If you want to keep watching videos about language learning, you should check these ones out and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you next time. Bye bye!